Welcome to Movie Mash. Today, we're going to recap a superhero horror action film called Constantine. Please don't forget to subscribe for more interesting movie recaps. The story begins with a message. He who possesses the spear of destiny holds the fate of the world in his hands. In Mexico, a man who was looking for things found a big knife that was covered with a flag that had a symbol used by the Nazis. Suddenly, he felt different and walked onto the road where a car hit him. The car was severely damaged and almost split in two. When everything settled down, the man stood up and ran away. It's possible that the man found the spear of destiny. Later in Los Angeles, an Asian woman prepares a cup of tea and brings it to her daughter. She becomes frightened when she discovers her daughter crawling on the ceiling. Next, we see a man named John Constantine exiting a yellow taxi outside an apartment building. The taxi driver, Chaz, remains in the car. Once inside the building, a priest named Father Hennessy informs John that he has found one. John enters the apartment and discovers a young girl who is possessed and restrained to a bed. He pulls back the curtains to allow sunlight to enter the room, but the girl resists. Eventually, he finds a particular object, and the girl screams. He stands over her, and she chants a spell before placing the object onto her forehead. She kicks and convulses, then lays still. When John leans closer, she lifts up, and a strange demon projects from her throat. He punches it, and she lies still again. John smashes the window and positions the bed towards the opening. A group of men brings in a big mirror and holds it over the girl. John warns them not to look, but one of the men accidentally does, and his hair turns white. John communicates with the demon, and it exits the girl's body and manifests in the mirror above her. Despite some difficulty, the mirror falls to the ground and destroys the demon, bringing peace to the girl. As John and the priest exit the apartment, an unknown person watches from the stairs above. John confides in Hennessy that something was off about the exorcism, and he takes off an amulet from Hennessy's neck, instructing him to keep it off for a few days. Outside, Chaz is straightening the back of his taxi because part of the mirror hit it. Chaz drives John back to his apartment. Now we see a woman named Angela Dobson in church giving her confession. She confesses to killing another man. It seems she is a policewoman. Now she enters her apartment and goes to bed. She hears the name Isabel and she wakes, but she's in a hospital bed. She runs up the stairs to the rooftop and stands at the edge, removing the name tag which shows Isabel Dobson. She falls from the roof and crashes through glass into a pool. Suddenly she wakes up in fright. It was a dream and she's back in her apartment. Now John is in his bathroom coughing up blood. At the hospital, he's looking at his chest x-rays showing cancer. The cigarettes are killing him. Angela arrives at a crime scene and her partner Detective Weiss tells her not to look. When she looks at the body, it's her twin sister Isabel, the one from the dream. Weiss tells Angela she jumped, but Angela says she wouldn't have killed herself. When Angela asks to hold the elevator, John says no. Back in Mexico, we see the scavenger man leap over a high fence, maybe the border fence, and walk down a track as cattle in the field just drop as if they've been killed. A man enters John's apartment with a bag full of goodies, things like holy water, a screech beetle, a dragon's breath flamethrower, and some cough medicine. Chaz drives John in the rain to a church library to see someone, but Angela arrives and stands next to John. She wants to speak to Father David about her sister having a Catholic funeral. John speaks with Gabriel the angel about entering heaven when he dies. Neither of them gets what they want. Now we see Hennessy looking for stories of anything unusual. He finds the article about Isabel falling from the roof. Angela is looking at security camera footage of her sister on the roof before she falls. Then she writes down the name Constantine. Her phone starts ringing, but no one is there when she answers. John walks out of a shop, and as a crow flies by, he starts coughing at the gutter. A crab crawls over his hand. Then a strange creature made of crabs, snakes, and cockroaches attacks John. They fight, but then a car hits the creature and it's gone. John enters a bar called Midnight's, but Chaz can't get in. John talks to Midnight for help, but he won't help John. One of Satan's followers named Balthazar tells John he's on the way down soon. John starts coughing and leaves the club. Back in John's apartment, Angela arrives and tells John that her sister didn't commit suicide and she wants his help. but he points her to the door. After she leaves, John sees many dark shapes flying past his windows. He hurries downstairs and finds Angela. Suddenly, all the street lights go out and they hear a loud rushing of wind. John walks her across the street to a shop with a statue of the Virgin Mary. He lights a fire and suddenly she can see demons in the air. When he throws the fire on the ground, the demons disappear and the street lights come back on. Angela asks John if she believes Isabel didn't commit suicide. He tells her he'll see if she's in hell. In Angela's apartment, John holds Isabel's cat, then puts his feet in a bowl of water. Then he tells Angela to leave the apartment. As she closes the door, John looks at the cat and the water starts to bubble. Suddenly, John is in hell. He sees Isabel and starts running towards her while demons come after him. As she pulls the hospital tag from her wrist and falls again, he jumps and grabs the tag. Then he reappears in the apartment. He tells Angela that Isabel committed suicide. Hennessy goes to the morgue to see Isabel's body. When he holds her wrist, he sees a symbol burned into her wrist. Then he drops to the ground. He rushes to a liquor store, but every bottle he opens doesn't pour any liquid. Balthazar enters the shop and watches with pleasure as Hennessy keeps trying to drink. Finally, Hennessy falls to the floor. He grabs a corkscrew and carves a symbol into his hand, calling to John before he dies. Now, John and Angela are eating at an outdoor diner, and John is telling Angela about his life and how he could always see demons. He had committed suicide and was dead for 2 minutes before he was brought back to life. In those 2 minutes, he got a glimpse of hell. Angela tells John that Isabel saw terrible things when she was young, but her family thought she was crazy. Angela gets a call about Hennessy, so they go to see Weiss. Weiss tells Angela that Hennessy drank himself to death in under a minute. John finds the symbol in Hennessy's hand and calls Beeman for help. They go to Isabel's room at the hospital to look for a clue. Angela breathes on the glass and finds a message left by Isabel. Cor 17 Corinthians 17 is, which can be found in the Bible of Hell. On their way to Beeman's place in the back of a bowling alley, Beeman calls them and tells John that Mammon, the devil's son, wants to forge his kingdom of fire and blood but would need divine help. As Beeman is talking, he hears someone close by and the phone call gets cut off. When they arrive, they find Beeman dead in his chair and covered in flies. We see the scavenger man approaching a parked truck with a man inside, and now we see the truck racing down the road with the scavenger man driving. Back in Los Angeles, Angela enters John's apartment and tells him that she needs to see what Isabel saw. She tells him that when she and Isabel were young, she used to see things too, but she denied it until one day she stopped seeing them. He agrees to show her the other side. John holds her down in a bathtub of water, but soon after, Angela panics and tries to get out, but he won't let her. Finally, the side of the bathtub breaks away and she falls onto the floor. Now she has seen what hell looks like with so many lost souls. Suddenly she realizes that someone was there, so she hurries back to Beeman's desk and picks up a coin that belongs to Balthazar. John builds a weapon to kill Balthazar, and they drive to Balthazar's building. John gives Angela Hennessy's amulet and tells her to stay in the car. Balthazar is looking to a mirror when suddenly John blows through the wall, throwing him back. Balthazar pounces on John and starts choking him. John pulls out brass knuckle imbalson with holy crosses. John gets the upper hand and subdues Balthazar. John stands over Balthazar, preparing to exorcise him. He would instead bless him and send Balthazar's soul to heaven. Balthazar tells John the spear of destiny will give birth to Mammon, the son of the devil. A figure arrives, standing over Balthazar, and Balthazar asks to be revived as he's done what was asked. But the figure simply watches Balthazar waste away. Angela realizes that with Isabel dead, she would be the powerful psychic needed for Mammon's birth. She suddenly feels a strange sensation. Before they could react, Angela is pulled away through several walls of concrete. John chases after her, but Angela is dragged across the building. She flies through the night sky, and John is left alone. John then forces his way into Midnight's room and declares he desperately needs to use the chair. Midnight is insulted and pins John to a wall, digging into his chest. John tells Midnight that none of the two sides are following the rules anymore and his neutrality has been removed as the demons are already making a move. Midnight finally agrees. They head into Midnight's artifact storage and find a wooden chair used for electric capital punishment. John takes off his shoes and Midnight wets the floor. Midnight then takes a live bulb, opening it, and readies himself to stab electricity through. John sits in the chair and is transported to a strange place where he sees the man carrying the spear. As John witnesses the journey of a man heading to hospital, John sees half-breed demons gathered awaiting for Mammon's arrival. He knows now where Angela was taken. Chaz is making special bullets from Catholic gold. Midnight gives Chaz an enchanted cross, then prays over him and John as they leave. Now we see Angela falling into the same pool that her sister fell into. The scavenger man rises in the pool and approaches Angela. She shoots him, but the bullets go straight through. As John and Chaz enter the building, Chaz takes the enchanted cross and puts it into the building's fire sprinkler water tank. Meanwhile, John enters a room full of half-breed demons and sets off the fire sprinklers, burning them all. As they come at him, he blasts them with golden bullets. Chaz shoots the last one in the pool. The scavenger man holds Angela under the water until she enters hell. The demons swarm around her and Mammon calls her name. John enters the pool and finds the body of the scavenger man. Suddenly, Angela rises from the water, looking like she's possessed, and she pushes John under the water. Chaz pulls her up, and the two of them pull her out of the pool. She comes back to normal, but there's still a demon inside her. John and Chaz chant incantations, and the demon leaves her, but now the demon has entered Chaz. Chaz dies, and John calls upon the Wicked One. Gabriel appears and stands on John's chest, telling him she will make him worthy to enter God's kingdom. Then she blows him across the room. John calls on God for help. He picks up some broken glass and cuts his wrist. As Gabriel is about to release Mammon from Angela with the Spear of Destiny, time stops and Satan appears in front of John. He's been waiting a long time for John. John tells Satan that Gabriel is about to release Mammon with the Spear of Destiny. Satan walks into the other room and lifts Angela off the floor before Gabriel can stab her. We see Mammon struggling in the reflection of the tiles. Gabriel tries to hit Satan, but her hand stops short. God will not help her. Satan sends Mammon back to hell, then burns the wings from Gabriel before she flies backwards into the pool. John tells Satan he wants Isabel released so she can go to heaven. Satan agrees, but when he tries to take John, he can't. God intervenes because John sacrificed his life for another. As John is being lifted to heaven, he gives Satan the bird, but Satan grabs John from behind and tells John he will go on living. Satan reaches in and removes the cancers from John's body. As John stands up, he finds he is healed, and he goes to Angela, who is also conscious again. John takes the Spear of Destiny. Just then, Gabriel stands up in the pool, no longer with wings. Now she is human. She tells John he should kill her, but instead, he hits her hard in the face and tells her that's what pain feels like. John and Angela turn and walk away. Now we see John and Angela standing on a rooftop. John gives her the Spear of Destiny and tells her to hide it where no one will ever find it. She tells him she'll see him around. She turns and walks away. He reaches into his pocket for something, then puts a piece of gum in his mouth. At least it's not a cigarette this time. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe for more interesting recaps.